Before we talk about life after Loud, just one more album on that label, which is probably the biggest album on that label, was Wu-Tang Forever. What do you remember most about going into that project, and what hand did you have in working that project?
Um, Doing the work of Wu-Tang Forever, we were me and Maddie were putting most of our time into Capital Punishment. Um, and Pun was our new artist, and we were we Big was kind of like the model on some like a heavy set dude can be marketable if they have personality, and we knew Pun was had personality and was ill on the mic. So yeah, we were trying to make the best album we could with him and try to get him all the parts that he needed. And shout out to Fat Joe, who anytime anything seemed a little difficult or producers were a little whatever, we had the sick Joey crack on him like, yo, Joe, talk to your man Showbiz or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joe is a great negotiator. Um, he's a great negotiator. So we were more or less doing that. And so by the time, you get to Wu-Tang Forever, the Wu were rock stars at that point. They're, everybody, that's one of the most highly anticipated albums ever. Like, fuck just hip hop. Like everybody was waiting on the next Wu album. And at this point, they had a mansion. You know what I'm saying? They had a mansion where they all had rooms in a studio or whatever. And so they made that at their convenience, man. That was all them. There were no label people around the making of that record. That was all Clan. And I was just as anxious as everybody else was the day that RZA came in with that album for the first time for the staff to hear.
Right.
So yeah.
So you were at the label approximately 6 years, being on such a great run. What happened with your time at Loud, and where did you find yourself?
So I mean, basically, we always talk about that too. Like that's one of those things that it's hard to talk about without stirring up emotion and sounding like disgruntled, because I'm not I was never disgruntled about anything, but it was just time. Like it was basically like everything was sweet at BMG. When Steve would get hot headed and do all kind of shit. And once he threw a chair at a glass table or something like that, whatever. And the BMG situation ended, and we got to Sony. It was like Sony kind of like, I don't know, they owned our ass, man. You know what I mean? Like, we had to give up a percentage. They had to give up a percentage. It was no more like 50-50. It was more like 60-40 or whatever it was. And somehow, some way, just overhead was going. And I don't really know all of whatever. I know I tell motherfuckers all the time, there were a lot of budgets being cut for records that never came out. You know what I'm saying? But there were a lot of budgets cut to do things that artists wanted to do. You know what I mean? Or try. Like Prodigy wanted a murder music movie. Well, where's the money come from for that? Well, we create a budget, see what happens. Da, 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 da. You know, so yeah, there was a lot of money going out the door, even though we were selling a shitload of records. Somehow, we were still coming out in the red. And, again, we were a huge label. People, assistants had credit cards out popping bottles of champagne at night. Like, overhead comes from a lot of different places, man. And so when push came to shove and everything got down to whatever, Sony was like, yo, you got to cut back. And, at that point, some of the bigger wigs, some of the bigger checks, which were me and Maddie, it was just our time. And that was the end of my run at Loud. So once that ended, I decided to, put my energy in making the U in and U out album. And I wanted to as comfortably as I would have made it as if I was at Loud. So, and at that point, I had some paper. I was never like the dude that, rocked the big, chains and pushed the, the 500 SL and all that. I was very low key. how I moved around. And so I had some money to put into that album, and later on, I got a little help from Jonathan Rifkin and Carson Daly, and they chipped in, and Maddie C as well, of course, and we made You In and You Out. And I always call that album one of the last of the Mohicans because it's probably one of the last hip hop albums made off a 2-inch reel. You know,
Mm.
and you got your Pete Rocks and all of that, but it was made off a 2-inch reel. Then it was mixed onto a 1/2 inch, and it sounds the way it sounds. Like, you know what I mean? Like I always come with that term, loud sounders, because I still feel like there's an essence to the sound, of loud. Like, it might not be a company anymore, whatever, but there's a certain thing, there's a certain aesthetic, there's a certain feel, there's a certain uncompromising, sound to a loud record, and it's what I try to bring, to any project I do. You know what I mean? It's been a while, but Frozen Files is about to be back in effect. I got both of them. I'm finally experiencing the empty nest thing, or big soccer dad, and
Uh,
so both of my kids are in school now and they're chilling, and um, um, you know, me. It's like I said, it's my second week having an empty nest, and I think it's just time to get back into my craft and get back into the game and develop some things, and add something out onto the culture. So right about now, the next album I'm gonna do is going to be a compilation album, and it's going to be called Defrosted. Frozen Files presents Defrosted, where I'm, basically going into the archives. You see me right now. If y'all get a little look at this, I'm in my studio.
okay.
But those are DATs, people. Some of y'all might not know what DATs are, but um, you know, one of those is definitely a record that Pete Rock and Rock Marcy did, called Untold Truth. So I'm hoping I could work something out with them, and where I could get that back out. Um, um, and there'll be a lot, that's the basis of the record, is things that were never released before, and also maybe a few things that will be released, on future albums, and a few D sides, which I feel like should have got more light than they got. Never made it to vinyl per se, whatever, and the whole project could probably be a double LP, four pieces of vinyl, and we'll have a few 7-inch releases off of it. A little bit of promotion and marketing, and we'll see what happens. Some of the cats I hope to work with, of course, like I said, Pete Rock, Rock Marcy, up and coming artists I'm working with called Flashes Clayton, um, Tri-State, Planet Asia, I Seem the Explicit, Large Professor, Cellar Dwellers, Husk Kingpin, the new cloth, man, the new
No
cloth.
doubt.
You know what I
No
mean?
doubt.
So we'll see what happens with that. I'm pretty excited about jumping into that.
Any idea of when people can expect that to hit the streets?
Yup, early 2023. You know what I mean? Definitely by springtime 2023, we're gonna be banging something. Hopefully, you might get a little 7-inch action, for the holidays.
Right.
So,
You've got such a great story, so much history. Any plans for a book or maybe a documentary?
um, nah, I don't. Cats ask me that a lot. Like, I'm not that caught up on myself to be writing a book about me. I mean, I'm not saying that guys that do it are. I think that like a Dante, I think his story to me is a little bit more um, interesting in his come up, especially as a white dude that comes into the game and signs groups like De La Soul and Brand Nubians and MF Doom. So check out Dante's book, man. Forget Kid from the City, something from the city. But I and for me, honestly too, um, I do have a lot of stories. I have things, that would probably be shocking. A little bit, like I said, like people of course, know about the little Jay-Z stories or whatever. But yeah, I got stories with pun and things of that nature, and there's just some stories that I feel like not everything is for the public.
Right.
Sometimes things, my artists, some of them I might not see for like years, but when we run into each other, there's a certain understanding about a lot. And they don't call us gate guarders for nothing.
Right.
And there's certain things that, I feel like artists might not want told. And there's certain things that, you know, might have went through in the game that is not everybody's business. You know what I'm saying? And
Exactly.
I got issues with Steve Rifkin. You know what I mean? Like that's my brother though. I still, big bro. I still love him. He put me in the game, but I'm not going to air out our laundry in a book. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I actually, you know, had lunch with him maybe a month ago, 2 month and a half ago, and I got to tell him a lot of shit that you know, as much as it was like it seemed like some of it he just really wasn't even aware. So it's like when people are in their moment or in the moment, there's so much going on at that time that that you don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? Like I read these books, like and find out about all these like different cats that were running up in the studio doing murder music. You know what I mean? Gangsters, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just coming in checking in on records. I had no idea this one, that one, and the third was up in there. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, you find out after the fact. So it's just, it is what it is, man. But yeah, there's some parts of it, like, I don't know. Right now at 54 years old, nah, I don't got no immediate plans on writing anything. Maybe like, I still feel like I got a few more chapters to add to the book. And you know, um right about now, it's a game, it's a sport, almost like anything else. But it's actually not a sport. I shouldn't say that because sport dudes get old, and once you get old in the sport, you can't play anymore. People gotta recognize, like, this is our first time being 50 years old, right? And
Right.
this is like anything else. It's like you don't look at jazz musicians as old dudes. They just got better with time. They got more, you know, ill at their
Wiser.
craft, and so and
Right.
so. So I'm definitely at this point just interested in teaming up with somebody, that understands my craft, and curating, because that's how I see myself. I see myself as a curator, and vinyl is nothing more than my gallery, to display, some fine art. And I'm just excited to be able to do that, and also do it to the point where like my peers will applaud and salute, the fact that that real shit, what I mean, is somebody still back on that real shit. Because when I put this album out, y'all gonna understand the difference between this shit and that shit over there. You feel me? And
Right.
so, it's just gonna be, hand-picked gems, man, by me. And
Uh,
should be dope.
yeah, we can't wait to that for to hit the streets. I know I can't. I've been
Defrosted,
yeah,
defrosted,
defrosted
man.
coming soon.
Word
Well,
up.
Scott, thank you so much for the opportunity. You're a very important part to this hip hop culture. Thank you for sharing those gems and your time. It's very appreciated. And like I said, thank you again. Before we get out of here, can you tell the people where they can keep up with you on social media?
Oh yeah, man. You can keep up with me at Scott SEHOTT_free on I want to say Twitter, on X, on Instagram, and I also run the account for at Frozen Files on
Okay.
Instagram and on X. So those are the two mediums. So Frozen Files. Anybody's welcome, man. Come on in. You know, my scot-free account is a little private. You know what I mean? I definitely inspect everybody deck before I let them in there, because my little girl was like, yo, Dad, you can't be letting all these wild people up in here like that. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because you on my scot-free joint, you follow me. So it's like a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't know that's on lockdown. So not everybody could come to that party. But Frozen Files at Frozen Files is open. I get all the DMs, say whatever you want to say. That's still me running that.
That's what's up. Like I said, thank you so much for the opportunity and everything you've done for the culture. I'm the
Nah, man.
journalist Sin-seer. That is a
Pleasure, man. Pleasure,
legendary,
man.
no
You,
doubt.
man. You keeping us legends alive, man. You know what I mean? There's only a couple real ones out here that know how to do it. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
So you know, like I said, man, if I come to the table, I'm coming to the table with guys that know what they're talking about, know the history, did their homework a little bit, and you are certainly that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna keep checking for what you're doing, man.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
you.
much. That means a lot. And I'll see you again soon. Let's keep in touch.
My man.
Salute.